In today's video, FLINS, 5 stars electro character, polyam wielder, and DPS for lunar-charge teams. In this video you'll find tips, science explanations, artifact sets, weapons, best builds, and more. Join my Discord server if you want to make friends and play Genshin other games. You're more than welcome to join, and without further ado, let's jump right into active talents. With the normal attack, FLINS performs up to 5 spear strikes. You'll use normal attack to fight, but the damage doesn't come from this talent, so let's go ahead. By clicking the skill, FLINS will enter the manifest flame form, which will infuse normal attack and charge attack with electro, and FLINS can perform a plunging attack, will increase FLINS interruption resistance, and the skill will change and will now deal AoE electro damage, causing his burst to change as well. With the burst, FLINS deals 3 instances of damage that are considered lunar-charge damage. If you have another non-cry character in the team, FLINS will deal 2 additional instances of damage, still considered lunar-charge damage. This is the standard burst, but as we saw before, using this skill will replace this burst with a special one that needs less energy to be used. If you have Aressa, this mechanic will be very familiar to you. With the special burst called Thunderous Symphony, FLINS deals a single instance of damage considered lunar-charge damage. If you have the Not Cry Resonance active, FLINS will deal an additional instance of damage. So for the level priority, level skill and burst equally and leave the first active talent. Let's have a look at the passive talents now. With the first one, if you have the Not Cry Resonance active, lunar-charge damage triggered by FLINS is increased by 20%. This is a great talent, but just remember you need to have 2 Not Cry characters to activate it. With the second one, FLINS Elemental Mastery is increased based on his attack for a maximum of 160, so the cap for attack is 2000. With the third, every electro charge reactions triggered will be converted into lunar charge. FLINS increases this damage based on his attack, and the cap for it is still 2000. And with the last passive talent, FLINS displays the location on nearby resources unique to Not Cry on the minimap. So for the rotation, set all his supports, then FLINS joins the field using his skill, then special skill and burst, and normal attack. You can do 2 combos, and then with special skill and burst, and a last combo of normal attack for particles generation. Now that we had a look at the entire kit, is FLINS QUEEN or QUEEN? FLINS is a great DPS, but there's a few things to know before pulling for him. His versatility in teams is pretty limited since he wants to play only lunar-charge teams in first place, and in second place, characters that buff damage like Furina, Yellen, and others are less relevant in FLINS teams. As for all others lunar reaction related teams, you have to aim on buffing the reaction damage or the stats required for the reaction to deal more damage. So in FLINS case, the only supports who can buff him and team's damage are supports that buff in attack, EM, or lunar-charge damage. Attack is a bit less important. Besides this tricky situation, FLINS has a lot of weapons options and his build is pretty easy. My artifacts didn't roll well, but I still hit the stats required, so really easy to build, and we can say FLINS is a queen. Here's FLINS character investment, and let's move on with his build options. So for artifacts options, for 2-piece he can use 2-piece attack, Gladiator, Simnawa, and all others, and 2-piece Elemental Mastery, Wanderer's Troop, Gilded Dreams, Flower of Paradise Lost, and Night of the Skies Unveiling. For 4-piece, he can use Night of the Skies Unveiling, which will grant FLINS 30% of crit rate if you have 2 Not Cry characters in the team, which is recommendable in this case. Also, this set increases by 10% lunar reactions damage, so pretty strong. If you don't have good pieces of this set yet, you can go with Gilded Dreams, which is a good option as well, since it grants FLINS attack and EM based on his companion's elemental type. Main stats are attack on the sand, attack on the goblet, and crit damage on the circlet, and substats are crits, attack, EM, and energy recharge. Before we uncover weapons options, the majority of the viewers are not subscribed, so subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of content and make sure to activate the notifications to not miss out any future guides of your favorite characters. Let's have a look at the weapons options now. First option is Blood-Soaked Ruins, which gives a lot of attack and crit rate, so the 2000 of attack is not that hard to reach. The effect increases lunar-charge damage, crit damage, and will grant energy to FLINS, so pretty good of course. Primordial Jade, which also gives attack and crit rate as his signature weapon. The effect will increase attack and the damage FLINS deals with a normal attack. Staff of Oma, which gives a lot of crit damage and attack instead, and the effect grants FLINS attack bonus based on his max HP. And last, Staff of the Scarlet Sands, which gives a lot of attack and crit rate. The effect increases FLINS attack based on his EM and will further increase this when FLINS hits opponents with the skill. For forces options, he can use Prospector's Shovel, which gives attack and the effect increases lunar-charge damage by a total of 24%. I remind you that not playing FLINS with another Not Cry character is not an option, so I consider the full buff of the weapon as the default. Missive Wind Spear, which also gives a lot of attack, the effect further increases attack and also grants EM, which is really good for FLINS. Ballad of the Fjords, which gives crit rate and the effect grants EM if you have 3 different elements in the team, so pretty fitting for a class under FLINS team with Electro, Hydro and Animal. Deathmatch, which gives a lot of crit rate and the effect grants attack and defense based on the enemy you have against. If you don't have Ballad or Deathmatch but you want to get the pass, Ballad is better for FLINS. For 3 stars, you can use White Tussle, which gives crit rate and effect increases normal attack damage. So for FLINS ideal build, you should aim to have 2000 of attack, balance CM with all other stats, as well for crit rate and crit damage of course. Then he only needs 140% of energy charge and nothing of elemental damage bonus, since he deals lunar charge damage, which is a transformative reaction. Buffs given by characters, artifacts and weapons are not counted in these stats. Let's have a look at the constellation before team comps, just to know what they do in case you're interested. The first one, which reduces the cooldown of the skill to 4 seconds, which allow you to use the burst 3 times in the rotation. This constellation is really good also because it grants energy to FLINS every 5 seconds, so being able to use the burst an additional time won't make the build harder in terms of energy requirements. Between his first constellation and signature weapon, I think the first constellation is better since it's pretty solid. It doesn't buff FLINS damage but allows you to use the burst 3 times, which actually increases his DPS per rotation. The signature weapon is great, but it has great substitution like Primordial J for example. The second constellation is also pretty strong since after FLINS uses his special skill, his next normal attack hit will deal an additional instance of damage considered lunar-charge damage with his standard team, so with 2 not quite characters, after their attack, opponent's resistance to Electro will be decreased, so pretty good. The third increases the level of the burst by 3, the fourth increases FLINS attack and enhances his passive talent that will now grant him up to 220 of EM instead of 160, the fifth increases the level of the skill by 3, and with the last one, lunar-charge damage triggered by FLINS is elevated by 35% and lunar-charge damage triggered by other companies is elevated by 10%. This constellation is huge in terms of damage improvement, but it's the C6, so pretty hard to get of course. Now for team comps, he likes to play only in lunar charge teams, so he doesn't like to be played out of his niche that includes Electro of course, then Hydro and Animal. Also the damage he deals is lunar charge, so characters that buffs in damage like Furin or Yellen are not that relevant as you might think. In FLINS teams, it's crucial having characters buffing lunar charge damage with their own kits or with weapons and artifact sets. First option is the classic one with FLINS, Aino, Sakros and Ineffa. In this case, Aino's Hydro application is really useful for lunar charge. Sakros decreases opponent's resistance to Electro and grants to all party members EM, which is really important for lunar charge damage. Ineffa shields FLINS and helps significantly the final instance of lunar charge damage. In this case, Kazuha is not really useful since it doesn't buff EM, which is the main stat when you are talking of lunar charge, and even as C2, Kazuha is still weaker than Sakros since she grants EM to all party members, which is more useful since all characters contribute to the final instance of lunar charge damage. I have explained how lunar charge works in an Ineffa's guide, so go check it out if you want to know more. If you don't have Ineffa, FLINS won't lose personal damage, but the damage of the team will be significantly weakened since she contributes a lot with lunar charge triggering, but you could use Lanyan for shield and electro application and Cookie for example to have a healer. As always, these were just examples. You can use FLINS with a few other characters and more unusual characters if you build them to fit well in a lunar charge team. And that's all you need to know about FLINS. I hope this video can be useful to you. Let me know in the comments your final thoughts for our creepy gentleman. I remind you to subscribe to the channel to join my Discord server, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye!